The average millionaire in America is 61 years old. Not 32, not 45, 61. And when I first saw that number, I sat with it for a while. Because if you are 50 or 55 or even 60 and you feel like you are behind, like the train left without you, like everyone else figured something out in their 30s that you missed, this number is for you. The average millionaire built most of their wealth after 40, not before. And there is a mathematical reason for that. A specific, provable, non-motivational poster reason. Let me show it to you. My name is Donald Cash, double chin, gold tie, a dog named Jerome who is currently doing nothing productive and seems very comfortable about it. I started seriously building passive income at 51, not at 25, not at 35, 51. And today I want to explain something that genuinely surprised me when I understood it properly. Not as inspiration, as math. Before the math, I want to give you some context, because I think most people have no idea how widespread this problem actually is. The National Endowment for Financial Education surveyed Americans at the end of 2025. Their findings came out in January 2026. 88% of Americans entered 2026 feeling some form of financial stress. Not a third, not half, 88%. And 77% said they experienced a meaningful financial setback in 2025. I share this not to make you feel worse. I share it because I want you to understand, if you feel behind, if you feel stressed, if you feel like you are the only one who has not figured this out, you are not alone. You are the majority. The question is not whether you have financial stress. The question is what you do with it. Because stress can do one of two things. It can paralyze you, or it can motivate you to act. This video is for the second group. Now, the National Institute on Retirement Security released a major report in February 2026. The data is from the US Census Bureau. Millions of real Americans. Here is the number that stopped me. The median retirement savings among all working Americans. Not the average, the median. The number where half are above and half are below. $955. Not $9,000, not $95,000. $955. I need you to hear that again. The typical working American has less than $1,000 saved for retirement. Now, before you feel better or worse about your own situation, let me explain what that number actually means. Because it is not evidence that Americans are lazy or irresponsible. A significant portion of working Americans do not have access to employer-sponsored retirement plans at all. No 401k offered, no automatic enrollment, no employer match, nothing. Having access to a retirement plan and actually participating in it are two different things. And having access and contributing the right amount are three entirely different things. The system was changed without the instruction manual. Old pension model. Your employer paid you a fixed income until you died, regardless of how long you lived. That model covered roughly half of private sector workers in the 1980s. Today, less than 10% of private sector workers have a pension, unless you work for the government. That model was replaced with a 401k plus Social Security, which is mathematically fine, but it requires knowledge, discipline, and consistent action over decades. And those things were never systematically taught. The result? $955 at the median. Here is the other number from that survey. American retirees believe that someone needs an average of $823,800 to retire comfortably in 2026. The average balance of current retirees surveyed, $288,700. The gap, approximately $535,000. And that $823,000 figure? It jumped from $580,000 last year, a 42% increase in 12 months. Why? Because healthcare costs keep rising, because housing is expensive, because inflation has not fully retreated, because people are living longer, and the math keeps getting bigger. I do not share these numbers to depress you. I share them because they explain exactly why this video matters. and why building wealth after 40 matters more right now than it ever has. Because most people cannot count on the system to catch them. Social Security, the Congressional Budget Office projects that the trust fund could run out by 2032, 6 years from now. If Congress does not act, automatic benefit cuts of 20 to 25% could follow. That is not a guarantee, it is a projection. Governments act. Things change. But 65% of retirees currently rely on Social Security as their primary income source. If those payments shrink by even 20% for someone living on Social Security alone, that is a life-changing reduction. The income you build yourself cannot be cut by a congressional committee. The dividends in your account do not depend on political decisions made in Washington. This is not politics. This is math, and math does not care who is in office. Now let me start with the real data on where Americans actually stand. Empower's personal dashboard data from January 2026, anonymized data from millions of real accounts. Here is what average net worth looks like by decade. In your 20s, $139,000. In your 30s, $326,000. In your 40s, $751,000. In your 50s, $1,364,000. In your 60s, $1,578,000. I want you to notice something about those numbers. From your 20s to your 30s, plus $187,000. From your 30s to your 40s, plus $425,000. From your 40s to your 50s, plus $613,000. The jumps get bigger every decade. But I need to add something critical here that most financial content skips. Those are averages, not medians. The median net worth in your 50s is approximately $180,000, not $1.3 million. The difference between average and median is enormous, because a small number of very wealthy people pull the average way up. Half of Americans in their 50s have less than $180,000. So if you are 50 and you have $100,000, you are not dramatically behind the typical American. You are roughly in the middle. I am not saying that to make you comfortable. I am saying it so you are comparing yourself to reality, not to a number inflated by the top 5%. The median is your real benchmark, and the gap between where most people are and where they need to be is why the next 15 years are so critical. It is called compound interest, and most people think they understand it. Most people do not actually understand it. Most people think of compound interest as this. Your money grows by a certain percentage each year. So if you have $100 and it grows 10%, you have 110. Next year, 10% on 110, and so on. That is correct. But it is the boring version. Here is the version that actually changes how you think about money. Imagine you are 25 years old and you invest $10,000 at a 7% annual return. You leave it alone, you add nothing. At 35, your $10,000 has become $19,672, grew by $9,600 in 10 years. Fine. At 45, your $19,000 has become $38,697, grew by $19,000 in those 10 years, twice as much growth. Same 10-year period, same 7%. You did nothing different. At 55, grew by $37,000 in those 10 years. At 65, grew by $73,000 in those final 10 years. In the first 10 years, $9,600 in growth. In the last 10 years, $73,000 in growth. Same money, same rate, same 10 years. 8 times more growth in the final decade than in the first. That is not motivation. That is arithmetic. And it is the mathematical reason. The average millionaire is 61, not 32. Now, here is the thing most people miss about this math. The first $100,000 is the hardest. Not the first million, the first 100,000. Because in the early years of compounding, the growth is small in absolute dollars, and it feels like it is not working. You contribute. The market goes up and down. You check the balance. It does not look impressive. And a lot of people give up or slow down right before the acceleration kicks in. Here is the irony. The decade of your 40s, when the jumps start getting large, is also the decade when most people face the most financial pressure. The 2026 EBRI Retirement Confidence Survey, the longest-running survey of its kind, 36 years of data found that retirement confidence is now at its lowest level since 2017. 61% of workers feel confident they will have enough for retirement, down from 67% last year. 65% of workers say debt is a problem for their household. Half have credit card debt. Nearly 1 in 3 have more than $25,000 in non-mortgage debt. This is the decade when compounding is about to start doing something spectacular. And it is the decade when the most financial obstacles land simultaneously. Kids in school or college, mortgage, aging parents, debt from the years before, lifestyle expenses that crept up alongside income. The machine is about to accelerate, and the brakes are being applied hardest at exactly that moment. Let me give you a specific number that I found genuinely useful. $1 invested at age 40 has a wealth multiplier of approximately 5.5 to 6 at a 10% average annual return by age 65. $1 invested at age 50 has a wealth multiplier of approximately 2.6. $1 invested at age 25 has a wealth multiplier of approximately 73. So yes, starting earlier is dramatically better. But here is what that means for someone at 40 or 50 right now. Every dollar you invest today has more leverage than it will ever have again. The window gets smaller every year. The urgency to act is right now, not next year, not when things settle down. Things do not settle down. They never have. They never will. People who built wealth did it during uncertain times, during recessions, during high inflation, during family crises and career transitions and vet bills. They did not wait for calm. They built during the storm. Let me talk about the other thing that happens after 40 that most financial content ignores. Income. The typical path to millionaire status involves investing 15 to 30% of income systematically. But crucially, that income is usually much higher in your 40s and 50s than in your 20s and 30s. In your 20s, earning $60,000, saving 10% means $6,000 a year invested. In your 40s, earning $110,000, saving 15% means $16,500 a year invested. Same savings rate, nearly 3 times the absolute dollars going to work. And the compounding base you built in your 20s and 30s is now large enough to generate meaningful returns on its own. You are hitting both levers simultaneously. Bigger contributions, larger base. The math starts doing something. You can actually see in your account. Now I want to address the thing I hear most often from people in this age group. They say, "Donald, I did not start saving seriously until my 40s. I wasted my 20s and 30s. Is it too late?" And the honest answer is no. But the strategy has to change. 3 specific adjustments. First, you cannot afford lifestyle creep. Empower's data specifically names it as the main trap in your 40s. As income grows, the temptation is a bigger house, a better car, expensive vacations. The CNO Financial Group survey from February 2026 found that 41% of middle-income Americans ages 50 to 85 question whether they will have enough money to live comfortably in retirement. 41% of people who already have meaningful income and savings, not because they earned too little, because lifestyle grew alongside income, because the machine was running, but so was the spending. The people in their 50s with 1.3 million are not the people with the biggest houses. They are the people who chose the compounding machine over the lifestyle upgrade consistently. Second, maximize tax-advantaged accounts. In 2026, the 401k contribution limit is $24,500 for individuals under 50, over 50. The catch-up contribution adds another $7,500. That is $32,000 per year, tax-advantaged. Typical employee contribution rates run 5 to 6%. The employer adds roughly 3%. Total, 8 to 9% going in. For someone behind on saving, that is not enough. The catch-up contribution exists precisely for this situation. Use it, max it, every year, until you retire. Third, own income-generating assets. Not just growth assets. This is where the current environment makes passive income more important than ever before. If Social Security payments are reduced in 2032 as the CBO projects is possible, the people who built dividend income, REIT income, and bond income will have a buffer. The people who relied entirely on Social Security and hoped the math would work out will have a real problem. Income-generating assets are not just better returns, they are insurance against a system that is under structural pressure. Dividends do not depend on Congress. REITs do not depend on the Social Security Trust Fund. Dividend aristocrats have paid through every political crisis of the last 60 years. The income you build yourself cannot be legislated away. I want to tell you about someone I know, a woman named Carol. Carol is 53. She spent her 30s doing exactly what she was supposed to do. Raised 2 kids, supported her husband's career through a relocation, worked part-time, did not prioritize her own retirement savings during those years. She arrived at 48 with approximately $60,000 in a 401k, a number she found deeply embarrassing. She told me, "I feel like I have nothing, like I threw away 20 years. I showed her the data, $60,000 at 48, growing at 7%, with maximum annual catch-up contributions of $32,000 per year. By 65, approximately $1,240,000. 17 years, from $60,000 to $1.2 million. 31% of current retirees feel shame about their savings. 30% avoid talking about their financial situation with friends or family. Carol is not unusual. Carol is not behind. Carol is in the hardest part, the part where the shame feels biggest, and the part that is about to get more interesting. Let me give you the summary of what the math actually shows. Among all American millionaires, nearly 45% are between the ages of 50 and 70. Only 7 to 9% are under 40. Not because younger people cannot do it, because the math takes time to fully express itself. The typical path to millionaire status takes 32 years for self-made individuals. 79% of millionaires are self-made. They did not inherit wealth. They invested 15 to 30% of their income systematically. They lived below their means. They let compounding do the heavy lifting over decades. Not one of them got there by finding a hot stock tip. Not one of them timed the market. Not one of them waited for conditions to be perfect. They got consistent, in the right direction, for a long time. And here is the implication for you right now. If you are 45 or 50 and you feel behind, you are in the exact age range where millionaire status is statistically most likely to be achieved. Not someday, in this decade, provided you do the things that let compounding work. Save a meaningful percentage of income every month without stopping. Resist lifestyle creep. Every year, when the income goes up and the temptation follows. Maximize tax-advantaged accounts, especially the catch-up contributions if you are over 50. Build income-generating assets that pay you regardless of what the market does and regardless of what Congress decides. And then stay the course. Through the uncertain years, through the down markets, through the news cycles that make everything sound like it is falling apart. The machine does not stop unless you stop it. 88% of Americans are financially stressed right now. And here is what that number actually means for you specifically. The stressed person who does nothing is still stressed in 5 years, plus 5 years older, plus 5 years less compounding. The stressed person who starts something today, in 5 years, has 5 years of compounding working for them. The stress may not have gone away, but the math has started moving in the right direction. Stress is not the enemy. Inaction is. Jerome has completed his period of productive inactivity. and has relocated to his second favourite spot. My tie is still tight, and the portfolio is still working. Let the money do the work. In the comments, how old are you? And what is the one thing that has most gotten in the way of building wealth so far? No judgment. Real answers. I reply to every single one. Donald Cash, out.